Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Ace. So glad you're here. Today I'm talking about running, specifically the visual system. The ability, the mechanisms of how our eyes help us become better runners. Who would have thought that our eyes played a part in running? I didn't. Visual system. I was first intrigued by the word visual system by Professor Andrew Huberman of Stanford in neuroscience and ophthalmology. He has a great YouTube and podcast I recommend if you're interested in learning about how to optimize your human body. Check him out. It's fantastic. But yes, to the point where I'm talking about eyes and how it affects running. So, if you're a runner, you understand that running is a very mindful practice. You start to know what your breathing is like, where your foot is hitting the ground, what muscles are being activated, if you're using your arms or if you're not, what part of your legs, what muscles, which group of muscles are you exercising more than the others. You really get a feel for that. One of the surprising areas that I've observed in running is how much eyesight plays a role in momentum and perseverance. Let me give you an example. If I go for a 2-mile run, right, and I think of, in my mind's eye, I think, okay, I can see the finish line, and that's all I focus on. The run is going to be it's going to be a little bit more taxing on the mind, because there's a long waiting period between when you start the run and when you end the run, and that could bring mental fatigue. I've found that creating a series of checkpoints on my 2-mile run, a visual checkpoint where I see a target and then I run after it, or run toward it. Once I run to the visual checkpoint, I tell myself, I did it. I made it to the checkpoint. Now I'm on to the next one. That strategy has allowed me to keep momentum in my run so that I'm running faster mile averages. So, the visual system and how that plays a role in our ability to run is that there is a differentiation between the mind's eye and what we see. If we are constantly focused only on the finish line, we miss out on building momentum, which can increase our efficiency. Having multiple checkpoints throughout the run allow us to give ourselves little pats on the back, or in little hits of dopamine, because you are hitting small goals toward the much bigger goal of completing the 2 miles. The visual system is just like everything else. The more we exercise it, the better and stronger it gets. I observed this in my own life. My checkpoints, my visual checkpoints. So when I used to run, I would do just as I mentioned before. I would think of the end of the race. Oh, I'm going to get there eventually. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there eventually. And and I was moving very slowly. But eventually I would get to the finish line. As I continued to practice, I started to make more visual checkpoints. I'm like, okay, I'm going to run to the end of the block. And then once I get to the end of the block, my next checkpoint is the end of the next block. And that would kind of help me keep a certain kind of pace and momentum. Eventually, those visual checkpoints went from thinking of the finish line to thinking down the block to now it's literally, I've practiced working on my next visual checkpoint is the next step that I'm going to take. And that requires a lot of focus, a lot of energy in the mind just to focus on where I'm going to hit my next step, And by doing that, I've been able to build a much quicker momentum throughout that. It lasts throughout the whole run. And so the visual system when we are focusing, what I've observed in my own life is that when I focus on certain checkpoints that are closer together as opposed to thinking of the whole run, thinking of the end of the run, it has a way of creating checkpoint, the visual system, the eye of my mind to be able to break things up like into chapters, just like a book, like reading a book. You can read a book, and then when it's broken up into sections and into chapters, it's much easier to read. The same can be said about running. When we break up the run into many checkpoints and you keep an eye out with your eyes, it's a lot easier to psychologically get through that run and keep your body at a certain momentum and pace. If you're finding value from this, please hit the like button and subscribe. I talk about self-discipline, running, intermittent fasting, quitting coffee, all sorts of things. But yes, back to this topic. The cool thing that I've noticed that the more I practice, the better the more my mind and my eyes work together to help me. It's a full body experience when I'm running. Before I would just look around and I wasn't really using them to help me run better. But now there's a relationship between my eyes and the world around me and the way that I move through the world that allow me to go, okay, I can see certain patterns, that I can be more present and see what little adjustments I need to make before I hit my next checkpoint. When it comes to running, what little visual checkpoints do I need to make? And what kind of adjustments do I need to make before I hit my next target? Oh, do I need to relax my arms a little bit? Do I need to pick up my knees more? These are the kind of things that they're like micro changes that I experienced that I was not experiencing before I started understanding more about this visual system. And now I can it's like my eyes rest differently than they used to. I find places to rest my eyes and run to where it's like a maturity of this visual system, which we all have. It's just I didn't know about it until just recently. How can this principle be applied to other areas in life? Well, the same could be said about let's say I'm working on a YouTube video, right? I can rather than going, oh man, I would like to have a YouTube video and I'm going to work on a YouTube video, my end product is going to be a video about the visual system. and I just think about the end goal. I imagine a video where people are watching it and finding value from it, and I just keep my eyes on that. Well, that's one way to go about making a YouTube video, but there are several steps, several chapters, several sections that I can break that process into, just like in running. And I can visually go, you know what? I'm going to grab a pen. I'm just going to write the first 10 thoughts that come to my mind when I think of the visual system. And then once I get to that checkpoint, the next checkpoint I'm going to do is I'm going to make a YouTube video and just start filming myself. The next checkpoint will be now upload it onto the internet. The next checkpoint will be make a description, and then just so forth and so forth. You understand what I'm saying? The visual system. It's a blessing. God has blessed us. Thank you, Jesus, for eyesight and vision. And I pray that all of you can implement this or try it out for yourself and see what you think. Let me know what you think. Share it in the comments. I'd love to see it if you guys learn it, how, if you're experimenting with the visual system in your own life. Love you guys. I pray you have a blessed day. Please subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And yeah, talk to you later. See you soon.